Okay. We could have exported this as something else if we wanted to, right? When you imported the API calls, how was the data most often returned to you? What? As an object, right? We could export this in any way, shape, or form that we want. We could have done something like, it wouldn't make a difference if I said, if I turn this into an object and said colors, right? Colors wouldn't be, maybe I would say colors array or something like that. I could export it like that also. And here, we would see now that it's an array of colors, right? What's the most efficient way of like aggregating things, as we've seen with props, is what? What is props again? This thing is what? An object. Yes! State also is going to be an object. So objects are pretty efficient ways of like aggregating information. So keep that in mind. If we want to do this, maybe colors is going to have more key value pairs. Just know that. It doesn't really matter. In this instance, it doesn't. So we could leave it like this, or I could just go back. Did everyone do it like this? If not, I'll go back to the old array. I will go back. I know some people are following. I don't want to jump back and forth. But I also was just showing you another way of doing it. Okay? However it gets exported, that's how the file is going to see the data. So I'm going to go to ColorSwitcherApp, and I have colors. Awesome, colors are there. How do I get colors to this thing?
Under colors, color list, form, color list, and then colors.
So we definitely have to like pass this thing data. And I guess the question is this, right? Is this the appropriate place to import that? What's the top level thing? What's the top level thing in this particular application? What goes above this? I'm actually going to remove this because we have something else that's running above this. Right? In this particular Create React app, is it not index that renders ColorSwitcherApp? Right? Is that the case?
Index.html?
Index.js. Right? So instead of importing colors here where we know works, right? I'm just going to cut this out because I want to pass it as props. Now I'm going to go to index, and I'm just going to import it here instead. Okay?
Instead or also?
Instead. Yes. I'm going to import it here for the reason of passing things down as props, not passing it into the function. I don't want to do that. I want to continue this props methodology here. Okay? So I imported colors here, right? So import, right, colors from colors, right? So I have it there, correct? How do I get it to this component? How do I pass it to that component? How do you pass a property, or how do you give this functional component, which is what it is, right? I did discuss that there were two types of components, right? Extended is doing a class-based component. So the two types of functions we have are what? Props and state are concepts in React. Functional?
JSON.
I don't know, that's going to be your go-to, Josh. JSON. At one point in time, you're going to be right. And when you are right, I'm going to be like, Josh, bring it home. And class-based, right? I'm just going to say class-based. Class is a reserved keyword, and that's when we create a component that can have state. I want to make that point. Class components they can have state, they can have methods, something a functional component cannot. A functional component is really meant just to render UI. That's its sole job. Like, it's really, I don't even want to say dumb, but it's really just meant to be like, here's UI, that's all I do. This thing is meant to like process something. It's meant to keep aware of the state of information. It's meant to run methods that process the data as it comes down and does something with that. Okay, so this requires more overhead for our application. It's got to load it into memory, and this less memory for this thing. And so if we're just outputting raw data like raw HTML, then this is fine. If we wanted to do more, we have to do that. Our design is going to require at some point in time that we elevate the status of these things. I just want to get through props. How do we pass down props? You pass down props by defining it. It looks like you're setting a variable without using const var or let. I'm going to say colors are equal to colors. That's it. That's a prop. This is a prop. Colors is equal to colors. Okay? All right? Didn't break my app. Everything looks good. Right? And it's in this format with the curly braces. Why? JSON, no, JSX, right? So this looks like a variable, like variable const colors is equal to this. Let colors is equal to colors, right? That's what it looks like. We have a functional component, a component that looks like a function, and we feel like, shouldn't I just like pass it in as an argument? You don't. Now with a component. With a component, this is how you pass in properties. This is how you pass in what would essentially be like an argument. That's really what it is. It's an argument. Okay? We didn't really cover it, but when we were covering functions, functions in ES6 also allow you to have default values within the parameter. Wherever you create the parameters, I could say, you know, x is equal to 10 in the parameter. And so if you don't pass an x, x is already set to 10. If you pass an x, x will be whatever you set it to. So this idea of doing something where you're presetting a value isn't new. Well, it's new to ESX. Didn't happen in ES5. But it's that same kind of concept. Okay? And what I mean by that is, let me just see if I could quickly do that here. If I said function test and said x is equal to 10. Let me see if this works. All right. Hopefully this works. And I console log x. All right, let's see. Test. Right? The default value. Does this not look like something that we're doing up here? I mean, this has the curly braces, but this is a default value. If I didn't give x anything, if I just said test, or if I said x 20, well, then x is 20, right? So this concept of setting default values for like variables as parameters, we're carrying it over to here. It's very similar, right? It's just a construct on how you pass it. Like this looks very different calling a function than this here, right? Because why? It's not a function. What is it? It's a component. It's a component. It's a component. It's not a function. It's this functional thing where React is like, looks like a function, but it acts the way I want it to act, like a component. Okay? So if we pass it in like this, into this thing, so this is synonymous with what I just did here. I called it, I gave colors is equal to this array of colors, predefined it. How do I get access to this thing here? How do we, yeah, I feel like we just did this yesterday too. See how easy it is to like forget? Hey, Louise. Tell me. All right, what's the argument that we are almost not always going to give it? Props. Okay, what does React do? with as many arguments that we give, what does it do? You know it. Yeah, in this thing over here, what we will see is colors is an array of colors. It is going to take the prop that you passed in, one or many props, and convert it into an object where the key is the key that we defined, equal to the value, which was the value that we defined. That's what it does. How do we know that's what it does? Well, once again, I can just console log and say, you know, this is props, and let's see, look, here was the colors array that I imported into ColorSwitcherApp.js, and here is props, all right? What was the other thing? The other thing we did yesterday to import was what?
Super props. No.
I don't know if there's anything called super props. Yeah, I suppose we could make it. What? Well, how about this? I'm going to go back up to index, and what if we wanted to rename our app? Instead of ColorSwitcherApp, we want to call it something else, right? So I'm going to go here. Now, when you usually have multiple props, you can extend them like this. At some point in time, you start going to the next line because it just looks cleaner. But just say I said title is equal to most amazing color switcher app ever, right? Now I'm just gonna, once again, clean this up a little bit so it looks more intuitive. And this is how you're gonna see components written that have multiple properties. They're written kind of like this. Yeah, I could put this on a separate line, but it's not needed. This is how you would write a component that has multiple props. Once again, you could put it all on one line, but it's more intuitive to see it like this, right? If you were creating key value pairs in an object, you could string them along as they have commas, but it's harder to read, so we always kind of go to the next line. Just makes it more intuitive to look at something. If we do this, right? Look at props now. How many key value pairs does it have? Two, right? We could do this all day. Pass in as many props as we want, and React takes the props that you pass and converts them into this object. Okay, it converts them. So ultimately, this colors was equal to an array was passed into the ColorSwitcherApp. Like color, I feel like next time I'm just going to choose an app with a short name, right? And if we said colors is equal to colors, right? And if I said title, right, is equal to, I'm just going to put here A, because I'm really good at writing it all. Boom, boom. That gets converted into title A. Right? All of this gets converted into these two. So you have to know, props is really an object, which means state that I had up earlier is also an object. It's going to follow the same concepts, except we create state as an object. That's like something we define. Props is just something we pass, and React converts it into something. That's all we do. It does the rest for us. So now app has it, and we know that app has it. How do we get this colors array? Where does colors array really need to go? Does ColorSwitcherApp need it, or does something else need it? Color list needs it. Oh, how do I get it to color list? Tell me, how do I do it? Nope. It lives right here in color list is a component, a child component of color list app. See this? This is being rendered by this. This renders this, which means props. Right? Props is being passed down from here to here, right? What? Call it like this. Colors is equal to what?
Props.
No, not just colors. Props.colors, right? I mean, what you're gonna see a lot of in React is where things are the same naming convention. When I taught this, last time I taught this, everyone was like, why are you calling everything the same? So confusing. Trust me, if you know that at the top level it's called this, and you pass it down all the way down where it's always the same name, when you see it any which way, you know it's the same thing. If I start calling this colors array and then colors 2 array, it'll be confusing as to what this thing is. So if color list has this, let's test this out, right? So I don't really need props here anymore. I mean, I could leave it there. I'm just gonna cut that out, and I'm gonna go to color list, and I'm gonna put it here, right? Now, I'm gonna get an error. Why do I get this error? What? No, I know you're jumping to this. We're not even in the world of this just yet. This is here. When we talk about class base, that's when we start bringing up the this keyword. We don't bring up the this keyword here. So in the world of functional components, here, we call it, let me just go up here. It's just called props. Okay, when we get to class base, we will call it, or it will be referenced as this.props, but we're not there yet. Okay, we'll get to this stage. What's the error? Why?
Go ahead.
You need to pass in props to the color list.
Is that you agree? You second? Yes, right? Props is not defined. We're calling something that's not defined. So we need to pass it in. If we don't pass it in, it's undefined. So we do props. And now it works, right? Once again, I needed to get data from here to here to here. This is how we move data around. And data flows downwards. We pass it in as props. Anything that gets data from another component is always going to get it as props. Can you import the color list anywhere you want? Sure. We could have imported it directly to color list, but then you'd miss out on all this fun of passing it in as props, right? I mean, I'm having fun. You're having fun. All right. Yeah.
Could you just done the same with the colors in the color list file?
We could have put the array of colors in here, right? So we could have done this import colors here. We could have, right? But think that at some point in time, form is going to be collecting your colors. And we need to update this to update the array of colors. A full array that needs to get passed down to this. Right? So our app will eventually be collecting colors. And when it collects colors, we want to store it here. Okay, now I'm just saying we're starting it by passing it down because I wanted to show you how to pass it down as props. But in the end, this ColorSwitcherApp will contain the state of our app. And when we collect something from here, we're going to update state here, add to the array, and then we pass that new array down to color list, and then color list will generate all of the colors. I went above and beyond. I went to index and I was like, let's do it. So then you can see two things getting passed down. Like, this is how you pass down multiple props. It's the only kind of working example I have at this point to like pass it down twice. Now that we have it in color list and we have it, and we want to render these things, right? How would I go about rendering these LIs? I don't want to do this. I got colors pulled out of an array. It's going to be dynamic. So hard coding our app like this isn't efficient, right?
Props, bracket.
So props is an object. So props dot colors, and we could start getting them, right? We could possibly start adding a style in here to get the color, but we still want to create these LIs. So what if we did this? Once again, we did this yesterday. This is just kind of a review of yesterday. What if I did const colors? Let me see, colors, right? We can do colors here because our colors are stored in props, not colors, right? What if I did this? What array method can I use that returns the whole array but mutates each thing it touches? Map. Map does that. So props dot colors dot map. Okay, I'm going to put two things in here. I'm going to always do it as D and I. What's D? What's I? Sweet. All right. And then we are going to return something. Okay? What are we going to return? An LI, right? That has a class name. In this instance, the class name is going to be equal to what? D. Because everything in that array is just a single color, right? What you're going to see is, and we have to close this, right? I'm intentionally missing something here also. Okay? Const is defined, const colors is defined, but never used, right? We haven't used it. Think like, I don't know, how many colors are there? How many colors are in the hex code of colors or RGB? Anyone know? Who can hit that one out of the park? 260. Oh my God. That's a lot. You can try that. I'm like,
16. It's like 16 point something.
what? 100?
8?
Not 108, 9. 16 million plus colors. 60 million, right? If I have 60 million colors, can I create 60 million class names? Not. I'm going to follow that one. Probably not, right? Probably not. I don't even know how large that file would be. So where I'm going is that us using class name is probably not efficient, especially when I could be pulling from 60 million colors. 60 million colors could be coming from anywhere. I'm going to leave it like this, and then we'll change it back. I'm going to change it back to something else. I just want to see if this thing works. So what we need to do is get rid of that. We don't want to do that anymore, right? Right. Yeah. What do we want to do? That. Let me say, oh, what do I got? Each child, all right, did it work? I think I got one color off. I think maybe I called it gray AY instead of gray EY. I can already tell you that. Oh, did I call it black? That's right, it was gray. All right. Whatever. All right. Thing is this. We got an error. It works, but I got a warning. What's the warning? What is my warning? Because this is important when it comes to doing this. I mean, you just read it, right? Each child in the list should have a unique key. Prop. Okay, so here's the thing. React is managing the virtual DOM, right? This virtual DOM area. And the virtual DOM is this place that it's like doing this comparison, right? When you spin off something like this in a map and you create multiple instances of the same thing, just with unique properties, whatever, they need to also contain a key, a unique key. One way to give it a unique key is to merely use the index of the element. Every element in an array has a unique index, and boom, that should give us a unique key. And I got rid of my error. Error's gone. And we have our white, light gray, light green, light blue. These are curly brackets, yep. Remember, this is JSX. So JSX requires variables to be inside the curly braces, right? So just zoom in a little bit, okay? That looks pretty legit, right?
Black, and it's given black.
Oh, okay, so that's it. So I'm just gonna go back to the, yeah, so what is it? Light, white, black, yeah, so it is gray as in Gray. So if I go back to, where's colors go to? It's right here. Instead of black, it's gray. You can fix that. Boom, boom. Right? Works. Now we have gray. Gray's back. Okay. It is, right? Now you know. I know, Jed, you hate CSS. I remember you're like, I just want to do back end. I don't want to do front end. All right? So,
I was hoping it would just be black.
yeah, okay, they'll all be black. And then it's just morbid. That's morbid. I want that.
You wrote black, so I thought it was.
So here's the other thing. I was mentioning that class names aren't the best use case for this, right? If I wanted to do, remember when we were looking at HTML and I was like, in DevTools, and I was like, oh, that style was added by JavaScript. And what did you see in DevTools, knowing that that was a clear indication? That you should never write inline styles, but you saw it there. What was it? And I feel like I just gave you the answer. Style is equal to, right? And I have to give it, and this is just gonna be weird, but we have to give it 2 curly braces. This is just the way it is. I didn't make this up. The first curly brace, the internal curly brace, is for the style, is actually for sending it background, and we would give it D. Okay, I'm just gonna make sure I didn't break it, Okay, you get rid of class name here, and I just wanna see if it still maintains its color. You see? So styles here are 2 curly braces. The internal curly brace is because we're giving it multiple key value pairs because that's style, right? You want the background color to be what? Do you want the width to be what? Doesn't matter. We could give as many of these key value pairs like you were assigning normal CSS, right? And CSS should do the same thing. This, colon, the value. Semicolon, next line, okay? Does this make it seem more intuitive, what we're doing here? Because now,
Wait, so now you go change black and show black?
yeah, you can go in here and give it as many colors as you want. Watch, red. Violet, yes, let's do that. I knew, right? Great.
Yeah.
What's that? How do you spell that? Papyrus. With everything. Huh? Oh my God! Where are these weird colors coming from? All right, I like it. It's very subtle beige. Why couldn't you just say beige? Oh my God! You drive me crazy. We could say beige, or this could also take in. I think we could give it at this point in time hex codes. I could say, you know, pound. I don't know, AA, BB, CC. I don't really know what that's going to render, but that renders a light blue. We could give it what? RGBA, RGBA if we want. I'll just do RGB, but you know, 155, 155, 155. Let's see if that works. Did it work? Or no? I think it broke. Did it break it? I think we left off. Yeah. No, I don't know if I have to, because that, I just don't know. I think the thing might be there. It's just not. No, it's not. That's weird. Okay. Oh, it's right here. Oh, it went to the next line. Oh, yeah. For my next act. All right. So, once again, this thing has a certain width, and so it went to the next line. All right. Do you see how style tag is just much more efficient than using the class name? We could use class names if we wanted to apply specific styles to something that was in CSS, and we will at times. Color list, yep, right there, okay? We're going to do something else here, right? Because according to our design, I also have color list item. Whoa! Color list item is its own component, right? Because I see the potential of splitting off color list to create little circles that I could then take that and use it elsewhere, okay? If we wanted to create little circles, what would we need to do? I don't want to just spin off LIs, although in all honesty, this would probably suffice. I don't necessarily think you need to like spin it off, but it's a good use case to create our design. What's the process? What do I need to do? I want to create a color list item component. What's the process? Darren, what's the process? What do I do? First step, step number 1. Yeah. AJ's going to help you out. You're going to fill it to AJ?
Yeah, so.
Yeah, because he's like, I got the answer.
So you create a new, I guess, color list item.js.
Okay. Color list item.js. Cool.
And I guess you have to import React.
Import React from React. Great. What do you need to do? Go on. You're not going to have all the fun. Chad, what do we do?
You make the class. I was going to ask, can we write it the third way that we have written yet, where it's like.
Oh, class-based? Let's do it like this, because this isn't a good use case for class. What we're going to do is wind up going back to our color list app and refactoring that to be a class. Okay.
The other way, it doesn't have a place from the props, or do you put that in the render?
You put the props in the, like this, like here, props goes right in here.
Yeah, but if you write it, never mind.
Okay. Are you going to walk me through this?
Oh, yeah, sure. So function.
So we're going to do this const. Once again, I want to follow the Soleil's new method, color list item.
Equals props, arrow, open bracket. And then, yeah, return open bracket, probably li, style equals background.
Right? So it's going to be equal to background, props, dot. We haven't made a decision. If we're going to pass down a single color to this, what do you think props would contain? I'm just kind of seeing the future. The color. A single color. Our array is colors, and that's how we pass down our array. If I'm going to pass down a single color, I'm going to call it color. Now, this doesn't have it yet, so obviously, we'd have to pass it down. And then what? Aaron, what do we do here? I created the thing. Now what? Export, default, is it? Exports default, right? Is it exports default? Is it? Am I doing it right here? Export default, unless I'm doing something wrong here. If I go back to color list item. Oh, that's why. I can already see like the color coding is off. All right, there you go. Exports, defaults, right? Export default. Export default. I always forget what this is. Color list item. So this component will render as many color list items as we want, right? Or one color list item. That's all it's going to do. One single. So not here. We need it in the map. So here, this thing is just like, hey, I render a single thing. When you want to give me a key, you give it to me when you're creating me. At this point in time, this is the structure of the thing. It's just one. The key comes here in color list.
So
What do, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you still need to
We're still going to need to do this, but instead of spinning up LIs, we're going to be spinning up color list item components, which are essentially LIs. But what do we first need to do? If I want to use this, import color list item from components, color list item. We don't need the .js because it's a JS file. It knows it's a component. And then all we need to do here is this. Change this. I'll just put it underneath it. So we know that we're replacing this, and then I'll delete it. Color list item. Color is equal to what? D. Okay? I'm going to get rid of this. Am I getting an error? So we're getting an error. Why? Well, this wouldn't work anyway. But what is the other JSX thing that I forgot to put up there? Oh, my components tab is wrong. You know, you need the folder components. This one right here? Yeah, because we're here. Oh, that's right, because we're in components. You're absolutely right. Yeah. We got it. Good. Good looking out. And still, I have this error. How many elements how many top-level elements can a JX code render? Top-level things. One parent. Is this 1 or 2? 2. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this because we don't need it. Okay, we're going to need the key. I'm going to get the key back, but I just want to get rid of this so we can see that it works. You see that it works? And it works because now we're rendering a color list item component that is really an LI, and we're passing as prompts a single color. And we are going to get that error, though, about the unique key, all right? Because I removed the previous one, and I didn't have the key.
You fix the color list item.
Sure, color list item, right here. Okay. Okay. Working? Working? Good. Okay.
We can go back to that last one.
Sure. I just want, Josh, you good? Sure. I will Slack this out. Here's our color list item. Okay. That's our color list item component. I just Slacked it out. Okay. And just the one thing that I'm going to do in the color list is to give this a key. That hasn't changed. The key is needed. Otherwise, React gives us a warning. It uses this key to manage the unique instances of this thing inside of a map. Inside of a map. Okay? If it wasn't inside of a map, and these were unique color list item instances, that would have worked fine as well. Okay? Instead of doing it, yeah. So the key is how React keeps track of all the elements inside of the map. So React is responsible in the virtual DOM to keep track of the things, right? If this thing changes, I need to look in the DOM and find it. When you do this map, when you loop over something and you output the same instance of something, React needs to know in the actual thing, what's its real unique instance? Like, how do I know that this is different than this?
Isn't the D associated with the key, so you didn't already know?
No, because this key property is the deciding factor in React that decides the unique instance of every element inside of a map. The key is, and we need to use key as the attribute name. It can't be anything else. Because, yeah, what if I put 2 colors of black in there or gray in the array? Wouldn't be unique anymore, would it?
No.
So there's a chance that you might have duplicate values and you can't use the values necessarily as your unique thing. I'm almost guaranteed that the index is unique, right?
I just put P plus 1 and it didn't do.
Well, all you're doing is saying that, you mean T here, I plus 1?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So now I'm telling you that it's the next P instance.
yeah, you're still giving everyone a unique instance. You're just saying instead of starting at 0, start at 1, right? That's the only thing.
This is essentially like hard coding an index to something that is no longer part of an array.
That something is no longer part of it?
Like essentially, like once it goes through color list item, it's something different than an object.
Yes, it's its own thing. And if we, once again, if we were to like console log colors, I'm gonna just say console.log, this is colors after map, right? And I do colors. Take a look at what it is. It's a unique React thing. So another unique thing in React is something called a symbol. The symbol is kind of like a unique React object. Just this unique thing. Symbols are single unique instances of something. And so it creates it. And it knows these things individually because it's giving them a key. Even though in an array, even though inside of an array, we know things are at a unique position, that uniqueness needs to be inside of the object that React creates.
Can you interact with a piece of a component by its key?
No, you never really reference the key after that.
That's just for React.
That's just for React to manage this unique instance creation machine, and you only really use it in a map. That's really it. The only time you're going to see the key or the necessity to use a key is inside of this map. That's truly it. You'll never use the key anywhere else in React, just there and there only. Okay? It's just like, wow, it felt like the morning was like, hey, this is so easy. And then all of a sudden, all we did was create this new thing. We passed in data, we passed it down, we created the thing, and it's still like, right? How do we? So, based on that feeling, I feel like we should take a 5-minute break. Right? Did we? What time is it? It's 2:30 already. We've been going for an hour.
Why wouldn't you just import the colors right into the color list item? Like I understand that like the convention is for the data input now.
Yes.
But like you're not really doing anything with the consensus until it gets there.
So we have a form, and we're going to be capturing data via that form.
Oh, and that.
Yeah. I'm setting up like one side of the thing, and then we have to go back. We haven't done anything with this form. What we've done is, when you teach React, you teach props first. Props, data flows down, and so components. We've kind of worked through this whole props component thing already, how to map over things. Now we're going to jump to the form and send the data up. And that.
Because people are interacting with the HTML files which is being created by the index.js file.
Well, index.js is rendering ColorSwitcherApp, right? It's mounting ColorSwitcherApp and then mounts it to the ID that we gave it a root.
So even though the form component is what's collecting the input, it has to send the data back up, and then it has to flow back down.
Bingo. Because data is unidirectional
Just
in
the
React.
form and the color beside it can't talk.
They cannot talk. There is no communication.
Form can talk to any color list children.
Yes. It cannot talk to anything besides its parent. Now, it can communicate with the children below it, but nobody else's children. It's a segmented thing that's protected, and that's how React governs how data is transferred. And like, it's really structured. So when I'm like, hey, I know that you could never pass this to here if you were creating something like in plain JavaScript or jQuery, you could be sending data all over the place. I could send it to here, I could send it to here, I could update that. And then I'm confused where the data really lives because it's being like exactly, it always goes up, it always goes down. You're right with it. One question?
The way that we built this form, we talked about ColorSwitcherApp, we talked about Next.js.
No, well, in Next.js just imported the data and passed it down to here so I could show you props. In ColorSwitcherApp is where we're going to create state. And we're going to take the props that was passed down and put them into state. And then our ColorSwitcherApp is like, I'm aware of everything right now.
So this form would collect color from the user, and
Yeah.
then send it to the colors array.
We're never going to write to the file. The file is data that we imported. And the data that we imported was given to this app, and that app is going to like virtualize that, right? And then we'll push it in.
So I was gonna ask you, form can only publish the right parent or can publish the grandparent. I know right now, because it's through ColorSwitcherApp.
If it wanted to talk to this, it would have to go through ColorSwitcherApp, and ColorSwitcherApp would need to be configured to send it up.
It would need to in this case, because ColorSwitcherApp is where you need the information to hold that down.
Yes, exactly. And we'll see. It's a really structured architecture. If we can just understand, like, these two can never talk, then the end question is, how do I get data from here to here? So I must have to go up to come back down. That forces you to think of where you want to store your data. You just can't store it anywhere. You're just going to be like, I'm going to put data here, 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 and here. And you're like, well, where is it? It's all over the place. All right, I'm just going to go water. Water.
Questions?
No more questions.
It's very strange that my box and stuff
I feel like React, like, sets you up with all these stuff, so like, touching it and you're doing that.
I said he's like, but they're like.
You know, like, if you have any of that stuff that it's in trouble with, it's just not gonna work. Like, it's very much like, only edit this part of that, and you better edit it right.
Yeah, but you also know, like, this section you would edit that part.
Yeah.
That's the work. You know, it's not like I can go all the way down this path and be like, oh, what part did I break?
That's true.
Well, like, where's the background? Is that another ColorSwitcherApp? Is that? And like,
I guess you gotta pass the data back up to them.
like, so clearly you're like passing the information that you put into here, and that changes your color list. But then it's like background another thing.
You're supposed to be able to click a color list item and turn the background to that color, so data's gotta flow back up to color list app from color list item.
But it doesn't, because this holds the status of it. This already has all the colors. So this just has, these also have an event listener. I don't know where it is.
You're just have to make another function inside of the color list app and then pass it up to it. That way it also links the background.
But like the ColorSwitcherApp is gonna register the click.
Yeah, it's gonna register the submissions of the name.
Well, that's the form, but the circle is Are you gonna add more boxes to this?
You know, this is probably the limit for this particular app. You mean, am I gonna add more components? Because that's what I see boxes.
Yeah, you don't need more.
No, this is about as far as we
So
can
now,
go.
the background's in here.
The background color could be in there, or it could be in the body, or you can still touch the body. When we click on it, we change the background of the page. We could use document body, different body and change it, or we could change it here. Yeah, so we do it. So the next series of things that we're going to do is a click event to the form, because we want to capture data and pass it up. Once we can pass things down, then we'll add a click event to this.
That seems easier.
This is super easy, so maybe we'll do that.
Isn't it? Because like,
I
once I can change colors in my list of colors that exist, once I can add to my list of colors, then that's not.
It is.
That's making that.
And when we start with click on the color, so there's just two places for us to do the click events and to do state. So what I want to do is get to state, and clicking on something is great, but that's not changing the state of it. I'm just clicking and changing a color.
So does that have to go back? Like, once the click event has to lift the state back up?
The click event will have to lift it up, just like when you submit the form, it has to lift it up. So when we click the thing here, we can pass it down a function. Just like we passed down props of color, I could pass a function from here all the way down to the individual things that says when you get clicked, change the thing, change the background goes down. Yeah, but and then the question is, where do we run the function? The function could be running up here, but executed here. So this becomes the context of the function. The function lives here and is passed down, but when you click on it here, it's actually executed up here and has access to any additional information it needs. It's kind of a scooping. I know, it's really hard. I'm trying to explain it until we see it done in action.
And the only time we find a color in this is in color list item. But
Yeah.
instead of just saying that color is color colors.
Exactly this.
Not you, no, you are in color list items, like that's when you.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I'm just.
Because I was looking at where did we establish,
Like,
so
there's like-
where does color, no S.
you don't
Right here.
Where decides
Feels like
that?
I'm this far away, the wall is like super tall.
Okay. So that's the first definition, and then color list item understands that and does its own
Exactly.
color.
This is getting passed down as a property to the color list item. And so color list item, we'll see it as props
I was
dot
about
color.
for 10 minutes because of course I had put in an S, totally by mistake.
Okay.
Like, I have no idea. We started this. Here.
When your function down here and then call it.
No,
It'll
no,
come.
this is not even my first brush with React. Every time I go back to my definition,
Yeah.
the box up updates and code.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I saw that. I was like, yeah. Yeah, they're all jumping all over the place. But this makes more sense, because these things have like a structure to them. It's a meticulous way of passing
So
things
the
up.
evidence of color is good.
Exactly. And maybe right here, this gets it as props, colorless item, also gets color. This can be whatever the color is. Red.
Oh, just,
Right? That's props. Color.
Yeah.
Color this, that's props. Color is passed down here. So this thing has it as.
But the color list definition is a guide.
Would you say that I changed that?
Yeah.
It immediately starts on the stone.
Color list definition, so then you
So this here, it's passed to this thing. When this gets it, it references it as yeah, it being the data element and I being the index of it. Cool? Huh?
That's a little recursive action.
What is
Colorless. Colorless. Oh, no.
yeah, I don't think it's recursion, right? recursion is when the function calls itself.
Yeah, I guess it's just being weird.
It is weird.
It's interesting because color lists are just below color lists. But it's happening above there.
Color list is happening below what? Below this?
Color list is happening below color list.
Color list is not happening below color list item. You're confusing me. Wow. Okay. Man, I feel like we built out the most basic React app, and even I'm confused now. Okay. All right. I mean, all we did was really create a few components, right? I tried to put here what the props are now in these things. I'm giving it a color of gray, but this would have been white, green, blue, whatever it is. So props here is this object, right? So props in color list item is now color as a key in gray or green or blue. Props here is colors because it's getting it passed down, right? And props here is colors, the array of colors, right? This is also an array of colors, right? It's new with that because that's also getting passed down, right? It may seem repetitive to be like colors is here and then colors is being passed down. It's just the way it is. To keep consistency of the thing that's being passed out. This is getting props, this is getting props, and this is getting props. And these are the values of those things in props.
I think this is off of exactly that. So in the ColorSwitcherApp code,
Are we in the color switcher? Here, ColorSwitcherApp code.
and then when you're calling the color list function,
Yeah.
you're just passing colors.
Exactly. I'm passing a single prop.
But then in the color list, when you call the map function, I thought you should just do props.map because props is now just colors
No, props is an object
with just colors.
with just colors as a single key. Right here, props is an object with colors as the key.
Okay, so it doesn't really matter that it's just colors.
Exactly.
You still have to say props.
Props is when you pass something to the thing, it's always going to, when you pass the data to the component, it's always going to wrap what you gave it and stick it in an object, and we reference the object as props. We could have called it any other naming convention. We use props because it's intuitive. That's what's being passed down. We're not going to see multiple things in here. There's not like, argument, A, B, and C. We're not going to do that ever because React is like anything that you pass the component, no matter how many properties, I wrap it up, stick it into an object, and then it accesses those key value pairs within the object.
So even if you would pass down colors and title into this,
Sure.
this would still look exactly the same.
Still look exactly the same. It doesn't need to use all the things that are passed. Makes sense, right? I mean, I could have taken title from here and passed it all the way down, but it's not being used here, nor is title being used here. It's only being used here, and so I use it here and pass down only the data that these things actually need. I pass down a list of colors to color list because it's going to loop and create color list items. I pass down a single color to color list item because it renders a single LI and it gives it a background. No, what are we talking about outside? I'm gonna start laughing again. Go ahead. Good? Okay. All right. We feel like I would just want to send you off to build your own thing. Like, build your own thing now. Right? Because it's time that you feel what it's like to build your own thing. Not like a torture thing, but you gotta have homework, aka do it on your own. So here's the thing. We build out this ColorSwitcherApp. I'm going to go generously and commit git add git status, bloop, right? I went from stuff needed to be added to stuff being added, right? And I will do a git push, bloop, and it should have pushed it all, right? If I do a git status now, oh, why do I still have it? I'm gonna do something right here. What? No, yeah. Yeah, I'm going up. Git push. I'm just gonna do origin master and let's see. Yeah. Everything looks up to date, git status. You know, I have to do a git add. Where? Where's my git? Oh, so it's
recognizing the Git repository from the
okay, so maybe it's in Hello World.
It's higher. I'm pretty sure it's an in-the-base folder of
Okay. No, it is. It's in the Unit 2 React folder. But this, the ColorSwitcherApp, +-a, doesn't have, it's not a Git repo, right? Or is ColorSwitcherApp, ls-a. It doesn't have a Git, it's not a Git repo, that's what I'm saying.
But it's from your example, it's still showing the ColorSwitcherApp git status.
Yes, somebody said. All right, so I'm just going to try doing this one because I pushed it up earlier, right? You saw I pushed it up earlier. Git commit. Oh, you know what? Did I not commit? I didn't commit. What are you looking at? Are you like eagle eyes back there? No, having me walk down some road. Color switcher app completed. Class loved it. Love it. All right. Git push. What the hell? Right? The fatal branch goes through that has no. Oh, I have to get out of this. Ugh. All right. Git push. You gotta be kidding me. All right. You know what? I don't. I am on another branch, so I did add it. Let me do this. All right. Everyone has all the answers, don't we? Git status, let's see. Look, git push. Mother has no the git. Oh, here's the thing. What's the thing? I don't know. You just did one of these. That doesn't really answer it. I have a branch. I created a. Oh. Speak up. So I have a branch. There is no branch up there with this thing. There's a master, but there's no ColorSwitcherApp branch. So it's like, you want to push up where? You just can't push up from this branch to master. Like, it's not going to allow us to do that. So I would have to create or push up the branch up there. But, oh no. So I just forgot off the top of my head because I want to see if I can push the branch up. Git push branch instead of the remote branch as an upstream. Yeah. No, I don't want to set up origin. Remember when I created the remote? Yeah, I don't want to do that. So we can push up a branch. I just forgot. Push, git branch. Watch. There we go. Git push, push a local branch to a remote repository. That's it. Git, checkout, git push up origin feature branch name. So maybe it is right. But no, this says set upstream. When you set upstream, you're changing this to be something else. So I don't want to do that. Push your branch to the remote. So I'm going to try this. Let me try that. Git push up origin feature branch name. Oh, I don't want to do feature branch name. I want to do ColorSwitcherApp. All right. You're going to be up in just a second. Here we go. Fatal. All right. Never mind. I'm going to do this. What did I do? Oh, yeah. Everyone's got the answers. All right. Hey! Woo! Woo! All right. Exactly. What the hell did you do? So I'm going to go here. Well, I know, right? I'm even like, what did I do? So I'm going to go here and look. There's another branch called ColorSwitcherApp. Here's the master branch. If we go to master, ColorSwitcherApp, things don't exist. It's like we never created them. Okay? This has what we did. Now, I'm going to merge them and push them up later because I don't want to have tons of branches for every day that we do stuff. There's going to be master, and it's going to have everything that we do. I'm just showing you if you wanted to push up branches, like solution branches, starter code, solution code, that's how we would do it. Okay. You can pull that branch too, but I'm going to merge it anyway. Yeah, I'm going to merge it. Don't worry about it. I'm going to merge it. You're going to see it. But what you're going to do now is this. What did you do yesterday? I did the ColorSwitcherApp and you did the? No. Oh my God. What do we do? I feel like it was forever.
To-do list.
To-do list. Now, where's the to-do list? I don't want it to be too complicated. I'm going to slack out the to-do list solution from yesterday, and you're going to spin up a brand new Create React app and create what we just did here, but in the regards of the to-do list app. Can you create this component structure? A to-do list app with a to-do list, with a to-do list item. Can we do that with a form as a separate component? Oh, yes. And I want you to try to do everything that we just did. Here? Yeah, you're going to emulate everything that we did in regards to, like, I imported some colors. So import a list of to-dos. Import it at index. Pass it to colors to to-do list app. And then re-emulate this entire structure. We do, but you need to get the hands-on and like reproducing this. I need to guarantee like everyone understands the whole props being passed down thing.
So I'm sure we get out and push anything that we did.
You can push anything you want to your own repo, right? That's you. You can do whatever you want to your own. So here it is. Here's the code pen from yesterday. I slacked it out. You have it. Yeah, this is going to be lab time. You're going to be doing this on your own. I can do this, though, just to help everyone out, right? If I'm in, week 4, day 02, I am going to git checkout. I'm going to go back into master now, and I'm going to do git merge color switcher app. So I'm going to merge the two together, okay? So now ColorSwitcherApp now is part of, and I'll push that up in a minute. Now I'm here. In student labs, you'll go to student labs. And in student labs, I want you to, there is a student lab in there. We're not going to do this right now, not this readme. I want you to create, or student, you can just do maybe, student labs. Create React app to-do list app. Okay? I'm in student labs. Okay? That's what you're going to do. I'm not going to finish doing this because I don't want to interfere with anything you're going to do. Okay? So I'm not going to do that there.
It has to be in the WO or DO2.
Yeah, because that's day 02, right? So PWD, I'm in student labs. I mean, if you mistakenly do it, just copy and paste it, paste it into our folder, right? All right.
We also can't use capital letters.
Oh, you can't use capital letters, right? Yes, that's right. It's all lowercase. So I'm going to go back into instructor examples. We have 2 apps. I will create React app and do to-do list app, right? Or to-do, maybe I'll just do this. To-do list. If you created it the other way, no biggie, whatever you want. Create it. Don't be jealous. Don't be a hater. All right? And see if you can create that to-do list app we did yesterday. Oh. I did push up, so I'm going to go back to our repo. I did push up everything. So in we go to instructor examples, ColorSwitcherApp is in there. Everything we did is in here. You can just reference it. Reference what you need to do, what you think needs to get passed down. It's basically a mirror kind of like this, just changing the naming conventions from colors to to-dos or to-do, right? Yeah.
Loading.
But still loading?
Yeah. It's like,
Right.
yeah.
You know.
Just not my problem.
It'll be perfect. At the end of the day, it's not my problem.
I did it again. JC.
So what you want to do is you add.
You install the R. They install it.
Well, ColorSwitcherApp is so if you add one, you get the ColorSwitcherApp.
Yeah.
Then you can merge into master. You don't need. Now get checkout master. There you go. And then just would get merge and the name of the nice one with its master. ColorSwitcherApp is what it's called. The two now. So you no longer need the ColorSwitcherApp branch because all those changes are in your master. Okay. Well, you're going to be connected to the whole classroom project. But it should be.
Yeah, it's on my.
Yeah, it's on your report.
So I'll leave it just as master then?
Yeah.
Or should I push this? These things?
ColorSwitcherApp.
These have been committed, right?
Yeah.
So should I just push this?
If you want to. You don't have to do origin master. You can just hit push. Okay. All right. Still? Wow. Oh wow. It's like. So say it one more time. Yeah, I would change it. I mean, could you leave this as app? Sure. Like this. Yeah. When you spin up a Create React app, it always calls the top level thing app. 90% of the time, we're going to leave it as app. I'm only changing it now so that you have a true context of like, this is the ColorSwitcherApp and not just some app name.
But if you were making your own.
I would change. I would have left it as app, but I would have given these color list. Definitely do that. Syntactic names. Renaming this, and I also renamed this so you can see like, if in the future you rename something, you have to go here, rename it, and export it differently. Like just pain in the ass. So you can leave it as app if that's what you want.
That's what I want.
Yeah, right. I like that.
What is that?
No, it's just app.js.
What is
Oh, it's like some testing thing. In the scripts, like the npm start, like here, do you see how it says yarn test? It would be running some app testing, which I never run, so I can't really see.
everything else be like captured in one of this, that one?
Yeah, and I don't really. All right. So, what do we got here for Andrew? How much time do you think it's going to take to recreate it? What? 30 minutes? What do we got? 30 minutes? 40 minutes? Yeah. Aaron, what do you think? Reproduce. 30 minutes. Okay. Let's see where you're at 30 minutes. Okay? You need help? Just ask. Timer. Three minutes. You're all about me. It's online. So go to my to do lowercase t right. We're getting into like clear out the errors and refresh the page. So use so this has to be I mean, that's just an idea. everything, any component. I mean, no, the CSS. You have to keep, yeah. You see whatever you get. Zoom recording, okay? So I'll help everyone later on. You'll thank me for recording this later on. All right, so let me just close some of these things out, okay? All right. So I'm in here, and let me spin this up and make sure that's ls to-do list app npm start, right? Just let me spin it up. Just get it spun up, make sure it works. It should spin up to port 3000. It's going to replace, that's what we get, right? So what's the first thing I don't need this up anymore. This over here, this over here. And what do you think the first thing we would want to do? Like, I want to baby step this. What I hope you didn't do is like, I'm going to create all the components, and then I'm going to try to fit them together, because if that's what you did, that's the wrong thing to do, right? It's not what I did. I like baby stepped everything, right? Create the thing, import the thing, right? So first thing I would probably do is like, hey, I'm going to import data. Let me make sure I can import data. Just kind of maybe walking you through my process. And in our ColorSwitcherApp, I created, colors.js, and I put it in source, right? So I'm like, all right, so I'll just go here and maybe call it todos.js. Here, const todos is equal to, A, B, without me going there and like copying and pasting. Doesn't matter. As we can get this in, that's fine. What do I have to do here? Export default to-dos, right? Didn't break the app, didn't do anything to the app. How do I pass these to-dos to my app.js, which I will rename? Where do I go? Index, right? Once again, the idea was this. If I need to get data to ColorSwitcherApp, how do I get data to it? You have to pass it. A parent needs to pass it. You just can't give it in the parameters. Like, you just can't say, I'm going to do that. That's not how you do it in React. So here, I would import, right, to-dos from, index, oh no, I'm sorry, to-dos.js, right? Everything works, nothing broke.
So you have to import it to the index.
In this instance, we are, okay? Later on, just think of this. Later on, this ColorSwitcherApp will be able to make its own API call and get data internally. It's going to be able to go outside, make a fetch call, grab data, and inside of it, get the data, and then store the data there. But until it grows up and makes that call, it needs data to be passed to it, right? And we can't pass data to a component unless we pass it down like this. This is the construct on how we pass data to something as props. That's the only way you're going to get it to the thing. There's no other way. I can't do this. Oh, color switcher, right, app. I'm going to pass you colors. Like, you can't do that. This is a no-go, right? This first parameter is being used by props, and it's like under the hood kind of action. You pass it in that way, it takes it and it converts into an object. So you don't do this, that's a no-go. We do it like this, and then we have access to it as props. So, if it's here, I'm just going to pass it as app just so that I can see that I'm getting the data. I want to baby step it so I can see. This would be to-dos is equal to what? To-dos. That's it. I'm passing data. I imported it, I passed it. That's really all I did. Now that I have it, I'm going to confirm my assumptions. I didn't break anything, so I go to app.js. And I'm like, cool, I want to test that I have this thing. How do I test it in here? What do I do? What's the two things that I would do here? Do I have to put anything in here? Props. And then all I have to do is just do console log. You know, this is props in app, you know, and do props. And look, I got to-dos right here. So now I know I can import the data. Feeling good because now we have data to work with. Awesome, right? That's it. I now know that I have data. I can rename this if I want to-do list app. I can leave it called app. I wasn't necessarily needed to do. I was demoing what it would take. If you mistakenly rename an app functional component, all the places you have to go, like, make sure. It can be really tedious. The naming conventions are off. This thing always has to be uppercase, always. A functional, any component, right, must start with an uppercase letter. Can't stress this enough. Like, this thing is just something you must. After today, if you ever start it with a lowercase letter and I see it, I'm going to be like, nothing I can do. I'm going to walk away. They always start. And once again, when I create these apps, I say reference this thing, right? Take a look at what I did. If you see everything I created was uppercase, don't create them with lowercase. If you see the naming conventions that you use aren't matching up, that could be why. There's a lot of errors, and you're learning that. So, next thing is, I need to create or pass down. I'm going to go back to this to-do list app right here, right? Is it? Where is it? It's this one. I'm going to move it all the way over here. All right? So here we go. Not much that I have here. I have to-do list as like some sort of H2 code, right? So I want to return this right now. Just main to-do. So I'm going to go in here, get rid of everything that's in like my header, and just paste this. This is going to error out, so I'm just going to get rid of this. Get rid of that, and make sure that this thing works just like that. I didn't do much. I go back here. Look, to-do list, right? Just copy the first thing. I have some text. That's it. Now I'm going to start creating the next thing in the list, right? How about I create a form? So I would go here and create a folder called components, right? That's what I did. If I just open up the ColorSwitcherApp, components, created that there. Here's components. Components is where I put color list item, and form. I'm going to do one thing at a time, and I'm going to do the one thing really well. I'm going to create a new file called form.js. Now I know I have to like import and export, right? I always have to do that. I really don't, in all honesty, want to have to like always do this and manually type this. So you know what I'm just going to like copy that. You can type it all out. Now I can't screw that up. And trust me, if this was uppercase R, that would throw it off, right? You'll get some weird ass error about index, yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to make sure that that's the correct. I now know I'm going to create a functional component, functional, or here, const form uppercase is equal to something that I know is going to take in props, even though it's not taking in props yet. It's going to return something. What is it going to return? A low battery. Is this not plugged in? No, did it again? Push. Okay. So now all I do is go here to the to-do list app. Where's the form? The form's right here. Grab all the content in the form, put that in here, tab it over, just make sure it looks nice, right? I'm not concerned about CSS right now. That's easy. So I have it. I export, right? Export default form. So what I saw was this. Because it was this to-do list app with upper and lower cases, there was a lot of time these two disconnected. They weren't the same thing. There was a misspelling there. You didn't catch it. That's fine.
Just so you know, that's spelled prom.
Oh, yeah. So,
Both times.
see, I'm even prone to it. All right? I'm being as
spelling errors. I wasn't going to say anything.
No, but please say something. So I have this, and I go back to app to do what? To import it, right?
Sorry.
Import form from components form. All right? I'm going to make sure nothing broke. Once again, every time going over, I make one single change. I go here and I make sure the thing works. I don't do a dozen things and then go back and it's broken, have to fix a dozen things. I don't know what I changed. I do one single thing and then I change it. And then here, it's in main, here's our to-do list. I just reference form. Now I got my form working. Easy enough, right? Seems easy. The next thing that I would do is do the color list, but instead of color list, I probably want to color what? To-do list, right? So to-do list. And just to keep this thing easy, capital T, lowercase d, that's just how it's going to be. And then I look at form, and like, all right, form, I imported React here, and I'm just going to make this simple. I'm going to import it again. I want it to be easy. I want to do const to-do list is equal to props render and then render something. I'm going to go back. Hey, what am I going to render? Here's my to-do list. Okay, it's a UL, has all these things. I'm just going to copy my to-do list for now so I can get it onto the screen, and here it is. Right? Save it, export it, export default, to-do list. And look, it kind of knows that that's the to-do list, right? So this is the other thing. If I see that it sees it, you know, I'm like, sweet, use the thing. Go back here. Is there any error? No errors. Why don't we see it yet? Because I didn't import it. So I'm going to go back to app and just, once again, I could take this, copy, paste it, and then just make the necessary changes. I could say to-do list, right? Render, no def, to-do list line 4, render. Oh, my to-do list, it's not render, it is what? Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Go back to app. And right here, just do to-do list. Save it. We got the to-dos. That's my basic structure now. Now I feel comfortable, right? I'm able to like check this off, check that off, pass in my data, confirm that I passed in my data. And now I want to pass my data down from app to to-do list. How do I do that? Passing data between components is done in the form of props. So I could say to-do list is equal to what? props dot. I'm gonna go to index just to see it passed it as to-dos, correct. So I go back to app and I'm like, okay, props dot to-dos, right? I may even do this instead of to-do list. I'm gonna keep them the same naming convention, right? This and this was passed in as to-dos. I'm gonna keep them the same name. I did the same thing. Colors was colors. Try to keep them all the same. Nothing's broken, everything works. I go to to-do list, and I confirm in to-do list, console log, this is props from to-do list, and say props, and I'm just gonna make sure that I get props to-do list. Awesome, I'm passing it down, I'm watching it every step of the way, I know where it is. Nothing's broken yet. It's all good, right? All right, now I have this structure here, which is larger than the ColorSwitcherApp, right? It's an LI with a span. That's what it's got, right? Here, what we'd want to do is this becomes our thing, right? This is our structure right here, right? And that is going to be a to-do list item, correct? So I would go to components here and create a to-do list item.js, right? I import React from React here. I create a const to-do list item props, okay? It is going to return something, correct? Oh. One parens, right? What is it going to return? Well, I'm going to go to the to-do list, and I see it's going to return one of these things, right? So I take that, go to to-do list item, and I paste it in there. That's it. I can leave it hard-coded for now and even test that the thing just outputs this one thing, if I wanted to, okay? I'm going to also here console log, this is props from to-do list item, props. Now, I didn't pass anything down because we haven't spun it up yet, right? This thing is just its own component yet, but I haven't really imported it. What's the missing thing from here right now? What do I got to do? Export default to-do list item, right? Everything is good. My app still works. Nothing's broken. I go back to to-do, right? And I'm like, cool. I got a bunch of data. These things don't need to be like this anymore, right? I don't even need these things. So bloop, they go, right? Save it. All my to-do items magically disappear. What do I do now? What's that?
Add items in the list.
But I need to spin off something. So let's take a look. So this is to-do list, right? So once again, you go back to color list and you're like, oh snap, that's what he did, right? Map. Exactly. The reason why I'm kind of like emulating this is when it comes time to do your project. So this happens a lot in the other units too. It's like, hey, it's unit 3, build a server, build routes, build all this. And you know what? Some students are like, I'm going to build it all from scratch and type everything out, and then you do all the bad fingering you don't know. You copy and paste the server. Get the server working. There's a lot more stuff that you need to focus on. Just get the server working, and then you can go back and rename things, right? It's the same thing here. Work it one step at a time. So I'm going to go to the to-do list and say const to-dos is equal to props dot to-dos dot map, because we're mapping, right? D and I, that's just my naming convention. It's going to return, what is it going to return? to-do list item. This is going to error out because I haven't imported it yet. So we'll see the error. What am I going to pass it? Whatever you want to call it, right? So I'm going to go back here. In the to-do list item, I never put the placeholder here yet. Okay? So we'll make a decision. We could call this to-do. We could call this item, whatever you want. I'm going to call it to-do. Actually, you know what? We'll call it I. Is equal to what? D. What else does this thing need? A key, and that's equal to I. And then we close it. Awesome. Now, a to-do list item is defined, but we never imported it. So we're getting this error. To-do list item is not defined. Like, it doesn't know what the hell to do with this thing. So let's import it. Import to-do list item from components to-do list item. See how I found it? Boop. All right. I'm getting another error. Module not found. Cameras off. To-do list item in source components. Did I misspell it? What's that? Oh, that's right, because this thing is inside of the same folder. So yeah, you get carried away. Okay, right? So what do I need to do now? I spun these off. I'm going to go to-do list item and change this instead of saying learn React fundamentals. What does that get changed to? Curly brace. Props.
Inner text?
No, inner text is JavaScript. Inner HTML, inner text. What was it? All right, so let's take a step back. What was passed to this thing as props? Line 8. Item. So it's props dot item. So I go to-do list item. Props dot item. And let's see why we don't see it. Props dot item, to-do list item. Let me just see. Am I doing this wrong? Oh no, here we go. What's the last thing I need to do? Yeah, we have to call it here. So if I take a look at color list, I created a const variable, and then I called the variable there. Okay? So once again, it's a matter of just looking and seeing. There's this huge gap here, and you're like, well, what do I put there? To-dos, right? ABC. That's it. And if anything, I could just go into this, grab the CSS, right? Select all, grab all the padding, grab everything, go to app CSS, and just paste it. Paste it at the top, at the bottom. I don't care. I'm just putting it at the top to make a difference. And we're right back in action. Sure. I'm going to push this up any minute. Okay? This is also, you know, I mean, obviously it's frustrating. It doesn't work. There's some simple syntax things you forgot. That's awesome. You saw how I just did it, right? I baby stepped everything. Little tiny things, confirming that one thing works before I go on to the other. I don't take on broad things. It's like one small thing. Does it work? Awesome. Move on to the next small thing, confirming that the things work every step of the way. Otherwise, you're going to be creating, if you came here and like, I'm going to create form, to-do list item, blah, you're going to bang it all out, which is probably how you might have approached it. It's too much at once. You're going to get lost. Just make sure the smallest thing works before you try the next thing. It's my suggestion. After a while, you will. If you're building a larger app and this is like week 2 and now you're like, I know about this stuff. Yeah, create the stuff, do whatever you want. But at this step, Do everything at the smallest degree and make sure everything works at the most minuscule level. It'll save yourself so much frustration, right? And so we have it.
Style A and C inside this.
Here?
Yeah.
You want to style these two? You would have to, because the way we're doing it in app is using some sort of, let me see. I'm using a CSS trick. So I'm targeting the odd elements in doing it. So you could do it there by using some conditional logic. If, you know, I modulus 2 is equal to 0, like if it's true, then give it this background color, else don't give it anything, right? We could do that. We'll get into that conditional logic. That's conditional logic at this point in time, but that's also just straight up if statement at that point too, right? If, okay? Cool, how we feel? Was it as complicated as maybe tackling it on your own, it seemed? You see how I did it? Baby steps, small steps, make sure it works, okay? A lot of your frustration is going to be in mistyping things, calling something that hasn't been imported, looking at error message, still trying to figure out this whole error message scheme. Cool. Oh, I'm sorry.
Just the last one before the break. One thing that people do is start off reactions. See how it shows brought up or something like that? Each of those lines, throw a little box and show up props with your design. It's just like drawing this before you start your app. It'll make everything a lot easier. You will load that. So yeah.
So what I want to show you is this is a more kind of advanced application that will build down the line. And so I have that structure mapped out here, right? An app, a header, a form, a task list, and a task. Similar to what we're doing, right? To-do list, task list, same thing. In it, I also kind of say the app has state. This is what it has. This task list is getting props, and this is how it's getting props. It's getting a task. These are its props. It's got props. It's got methods. It's got props. This thing has methods, create and delete. And I can actually see delete in the app is being passed down to the task. It's being passed down here. It's being passed down here. It's a visual representation that helps me understand what we're doing. Okay. If we had more time, I would have created this. This just takes time to kind of build out and add the things. But in the end, seeing something like this, I can see where my state lives in two places. State is here and state is here. Well, we're going to do this when we get to state. Okay, state will live in two different places. It doesn't always have to live here. There's a reason why state is inside of this form, and it'll make sense once we go out and we build it. Okay, so I want you to see that this structure, and we will constantly be drawing this type of structure so that you understand how things are passed down. What's the thing? What do I have access to here? Okay, so, and you'll see things like, if I see something that's like this dot state or this, remember I said this keyword belongs to class base, right? Jed wanted to convert something into a class base, we just didn't get around to it, but this is part of class. So if I look at the structure, I see this, I'm like, oh, that's gotta be a class base. This has to be a class base. Okay, this is class base. This design, when we did it, at that particular lecture, everything was a class in general. I'm starting with functional components because, in all honesty, they're the easiest ones to kind of wrap your head around. To layer this on top of everything that we just did, or try to go back and build them as this, would just add to the complexity, right? You saw that this wasn't the easiest thing to reproduce. It was challenging, even though you were just emulating the same thing that I did, pretty much, to the extent.
So just to recap, the order of operation here, we figure out how many layers there were inside the app.
Sure.
To do this app and to do this setup. Once we've mapped that in our heads, then we start and we write necessary and exports. When you start testing the process, first thing you do.
So that's what I did, right? I imported the data
Yeah,
here.
still, right?
Yeah, I imported the data, and then I passed it in, and I console logged it, just to make sure I have it. Yeah, once again, that was just the way I approached it, right? Just to make sure things are working. All right, why don't we take a 5-minute break? Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. No, stay out. Okay.
Yeah.
Where's that being called? Where's that? Is it being called from the to-do list? Let's get rid of clients. Because to-do list is inside the same folder as to-do list list. That means I had done the same thing. So you typed exactly what I typed, you got the error. Okay?
So I have a question. So is
Sure.
it best practice to keep the prompts all the same name? So like.
Yes.
Okay.
When you're passing it down, pass it all the way down. I did mention that there's going to be a way to pass something from here all the way to here without going through, but that's a more advanced concept in React. For right now, we want to keep the same naming convention. So when you look at something, you know where it's coming from, and when I look at the parent, I know that this thing is still the thing down there. You start changing the names 3 or 4 or 5 levels deep, it's going to get confusing. Like, what was it called here is like different than here, and it's different than here. I'm going to lose context of that.
And that's why we have the context.
Yeah, and then React has this thing called context. If you look on the React side on like advanced, there's a section on context. And it's how you can pass something down.
Can I ask something? So I feel like this is probably happening to others
Sure.
as well. But like I'm trying to follow along and something really small will happen and I look down, I'm trying to fix it. By the time I look up, we're another file, another step ahead, or like another small mistake, and I'm just constantly trying to keep up. But I understand like where we're going with these
Sure.
things, but I don't know how to like.
So I think what it's what I need to do. Like I need to put in the checklist. Hey, we created the file, click on the thumbs up, and I wait for everyone to catch up. Like that's the only way to do it. I can push up the stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I could constantly be pushing up the stuff and you have it, but even then, if I push it up and you have it, you're gonna copy paste, but I'm on to the next thing. Unless I stop and wait for everyone, which I'm fine to do because I think that's gonna happen. I'm gonna type, I'm gonna zip ahead, you're gonna type an error, you're gonna get, and this process. And I don't want anyone to get lost. So when the next class I'm teaching, I will stop and just make sure, like, here's a thumbs up, make sure that you're on point.
I think another thing that was like kind of throwing me off as well, since like all the file names are so close in name.
Sure.
Like, I was doing something in like to-do list, and I think you were a to-do list item, and I was like, oh shit. And then I was like, have to paste it over.
Mhm.
We talked about folder structure like a little bit today, and we're doing a more formal structure probably tomorrow, Thursday, depending on time allowances. But that's why at the scale of React apps that we're doing, this is kind of like the folder structure that we end up going towards. So we're pretending that we're in source right now. We have our components folder, whether capital C or not capital C, depending if you're, you're Joe. And then this part. So then we have a separate folder for each component. Right. Because then what you can do is you can, in this component, you have to-do-list.js and to-do-list.css. And then all the stuff that you have is just kind of compartmentalized like this. So CSS, and then over here, you have to-do list item. And then once you get like to a big enough project, you can kind of group these parts into bigger folders. The whole thing is that you don't want to have your folder structure way too deep because it's going to make it a hassle, but you want it all in service level. It's essentially finding out what's good for you. For the most part, React is a convention-based language in the sense that, you have to follow React's conventions in order to actually do things. Which is why it's super frustrating looking at the React docs, one day to learn React, because you're like, how am I supposed to learn React if I don't know React? But
I don't know if this will help you, but I got lost at one point. Like something broke and I was like, oh. And I was gonna go back and so there's something that I just decided to like keep watching what Joe was doing, and then when he was done, I just went back and looked at the error, and I was like,
Right. I started doing that. It was just, I did it too late. And it's like, there's one more file and then we're done. But I think I'm going to be trying to do this. And I can really try to.
Okay.
yeah.
In the Slack, just be like, on your own, try and figure out the complexity of these three based on what we're there, and we'll do like the proper gathering as a turn and talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I'm just saying, sometimes you do homework announcements, so I can do today.
You're gonna do it. Yeah. I'm tired. I'm
I thought you were
I'm gonna go sit down. I'm so tired.
Joe, sleep again.
I am tired.
So Joe, just so I can second say that, the only things we need to import in each file are exactly what we need to do to that file.
Exactly. React always, right? You always have to import React.
Yeah.
That's like the
And you always
baseline.
have that.
And you always have to export the components. So create the component, export the component. Having that structure, you can always just like return just a div with something, just to say like the thing works, and I can go back and like add addition.
I got a little confused. I wasn't sure where to like first define the prompt. So it's like going back and forth between index.js and
Sure.
app.js.
Okay, so on index.js is, the reason why I import the data here is so I can pass it to app. That's the reason why. I'm passing it. We can only give something to this through this.
I just missed the stuff at the beginning. I didn't actually create a file. I just was trying to figure out how to basically but I didn't know. I don't know why I was. But I mean, eventually, is that what we're gonna do?
No, inside of app, right? So inside of this app, we're gonna convert this into a class-based component, and we will be importing data via an API call. So our list of to-dos is gonna be somewhere on our server, and we need to request that data. And since that's a dynamic process, every time the app refreshes, we need to make this call. We can't have a static file. So in here, eventually, we're gonna have a method that makes the API call and gets it. But that's like, that involves state, that involves additional methods, that involves this. So the reason why we're doing it like this is just because you want to have data and you want to see how to pass things around without the additional overhead.
Okay, for now we'll continue to just like create a sort of random file that has like
Yeah, and we're not, like the next class we move on to state. We still will be passing something down. We are going to pass down, but that thing will be put into state and we'll be updating that data once we get something new. Right now, if we were to collect something and even like push it into an array, we would never see it on the screen. React has no re-render mechanism out of the design that we just created. The re-render thing, the thing that causes the app to like refresh, is inside a class and its state. This thing is our trigger mechanism. Only when this thing is updated via a certain command syntax will the app say, oh, I should refresh. No matter what we do now, we could never get this thing to refresh itself without this. Yeah. So I was just trying to like get us through understanding props and passing data, naming conventions so that.
And every single
If every single component is being passed data.
right.
Yeah, they'll have props. If you don't pass anything, it's an empty array. It's an empty object. But the chances are, like if you have a component, you're probably going to be passing it in some. right? Just one something, whatever that something is. Whether it's the title of your app that dynamically changes, like,
Although are you still gonna have like regular like functions in your index file?
no, in our index file, so our index file doesn't have any functions. What we're going to do is wrap up. Ultimately, our goal is something like, I'm looking for what I slacked out for the Google thing. I got to do forks, right? Google markers. Oh man. Is it the Google? I'm just. Oh, what's popular? Newest phrase. Let me say. Google Sheets, right? I think this was it. No, I mean, this has a method that's called render, and it rendered the data. And as a class, we were able to include methods, right? And so render returns something. What we're going to see later on is that components can have methods that do things, little mini functions inside of it that process the data. So we'll get to that. Awesome. I pushed up the solution. So what we just did has been pushed up here to the to-do list app. What I did was pushed up here. You can take a look at it. It works, right? So what lingering questions do you have before it comes up, gives you your homework? Is it, I mean, yesterday it felt good, like, I'm gonna, you know, everyone's like, this is great, now today, not so great, right? You got a question. It's just
No,
like,
no, I grasp everything and probably follow along, like, you know, follow
Sure.
along. It's just like, you're basically like, all right, do this without following along.
Yeah. This is why, and I can only emphasize it again, like, this is why I don't start with the Create React app. Because now you're thrown into like these imports and exports, and just learning what a component is and how things are passed down. It just adds to that learning curve. Now, if I mistype something, if I export it, things don't work. And so you're not creating components, you're stuck in like exporting things, right? That's why I start with the code pens, but we can't live in the code pen. We can't stay there perpetually. I mean, if it was me, I'd probably stay there a couple more days to wrap around props and emphasize it. Then when we head here, you'd probably have a much better understanding. But the sooner you get your feet wet and you work through the struggles of this, the sooner you'll be able to work with it more effectively.
So
Efficiently.
how do you know what you're defining as props?
Okay, so the question is, what do I want to pass to this thing? That would be the question. I have a function, and I want to this function, if given standard input, return standard output. So then I would say, what does this function need in order to perform its operations? Right? If it's just a function that adds two numbers, then I would give the function two numbers. Giving the function one number would produce nan or something because there's no second number, right? So we know that to-do list item as a functional component requires some string of text. So I pass it a string of text. I pass it as to-dos. And this, once again, represents that default parameters in the functions that I had shown earlier, right? When I had shown what a function looked like, you know, function, test, right? This one right here. This is exactly what we're doing. I'm giving it some values. So this is like the default values, and it's expecting something. And so that's how we're passing it in. Form doesn't need anything as of right now, right? Form has everything it needs. Form ultimately is going to capture data and then do something in app. Like form needs to capture it and send it back up. We don't necessarily need to send anything down to form right now. Form just needs to know, like, somebody typed in, you better, here it is, because you got to pass it to to-do list, right? Or color list, and color list has got to like spin off a new color list item. But we'll get to that, right? I can't push it too fast and too far. Otherwise, teaching more concepts, what's the point? I need to know that you can do this. You can do this efficiently, awesome. Okay? Effectively, half-assedly, I'll take any one of the above.
Like full React apps, they usually don't go any deeper than 3 tiers.
Oh no, they're gonna go crazy deeper than 3 tiers. Like seriously deeper than 3 tiers.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like this construct can get really complicated, really, really fast. Like this is the easiest thing for us to build at this point. 3 levels, 2 levels deep, really outside of this. Like 1, 2, 3, pretty easy. But you could spin off things that spin off things that spin off things.
When you're passing the prompts to do list.
Yep.
To the to-do list component, you're saying to-dos equals prompts.to-dos. That's coming from the prompts you pass through the app. But why do you, now when you go to the to-do list component, can't you just refer to those prompts as to-do? Why do you have to do prompts.to-dos again?
Oh, because what was passed in was a prompt called to-dos. So this prompt to-dos is what's being passed into this. So when this gets it, it also wraps it up as prompts.to-dos.
So say you change that first to-dos to
This one right here? This one?
you change that to to-dos 1.
Okay, so let's do that. I'll change that to to-dos 1. I mean,
Where would you have to change it?
okay. I'm gonna just start it up so we see like if we get this error and then to-do list app, right? Let's see where the error is coming and then we can see where we need to change it, right? Once this refreshes, it's breaking and it's telling me in the to-do list, which is where it expects it because that's what gets passed out. It's like, this isn't recognized. So I have to go to the to-do list. Exactly. Call this to-dos 1. And then it works.
So prompts is not like, prompts is something that's built in.
Yeah, it's a built-in thing. We're calling it props. So once again, I could call this props 1, 1, 1. That shouldn't break it at all. Okay? This is a semantic naming convention. We're calling it props because that's what it is. It takes in whatever passed in. Whatever passed in has to go through this gateway, and it wraps it up into an object, and it passes it to the function to do its thing. Okay?
Would you ever use that semantic naming convention to try and keep track of stuff?
A little bit more than that.
Well,
What am I
like,
keeping track of?
I
Stuff.
mean, like if you're passing down a bunch of different information, I guess if you're passing down different strands, you're getting confused about which branch in your architecture has which information. Like, couldn't it benefit you to call it to-dos and then your to-dos not to-dos?
I'm gonna be like, maybe? I don't know, I kind of got lost in the whole passing it down there.
So it really depends on the architecture of the project you're doing. Because it's like the question that proposes is directly relevant to the data itself, like what we're actually asking. Right. So let's say we like soccer teams, right? We're hitting a bunch of API for soccer teams. And we have teams array, inside each team's array is an array of players, right? So first, we're going to make the list of all the teams in sequence, right? And then afterwards, we're going to have just a list of all the players for each one of those teams, right? So we'll map their teams or something like that. But what if I also want something for, like, let's say it's a World Cup thing. So I'll have the original teams that are on, but I also have the teams that are on for the World Cup. It's the same data set. I'm like, how do I organize this? In that case, it's your name will be used. Right? But that's only because you're changing the name. Otherwise, it's much easier to pass it with the same name all the way down. And the thing is, we did props.to-dos, but we can also say const to-dos equals props.to-dos. And instead of running props.to-dos each time, we just do that name thing. because of the way that we're mapping people like this, we just put in 2 weeks instead of 2 weeks.
It's like, all right. Yeah, I feel like it's like, just make it stop. Make it, I want it to end today. All right. So, yeah.
I'm just trying to make it.
Okay.
I feel like it would make more sense if we were passing more than one prop as to why we're naming it. But you're basically saying, like, the to-do list prop that came from the to-do list app prop up there, for the app prop. So we're now passing the app prop that's named, which key is to-dos, to the to-do list component under the name to-dos.
Yes.
And then so, I was just wondering why we have to do props down again if to-dos.
Oh, because every, do you wanna? No, I'm going. I would like to see, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Then you have to do an object,
Because all the
props
props,
dot to do.
because all the props get passed as an object.
Exactly.
And that's the key in the new object that got passed down.
Anything that goes through this gateway is gonna be an object. And it's going to be defined by the key value pairs that were set when you passed it in, not there, right? That were set when you passed it in, okay? So to-dos, I'm passing in a prop as to-dos. Now, once again, this name is similar to that name, but this prop comes from that prop. When we pass it into this, it's gonna have its own prop, okay?
What if to-do list item also has a child number? Then how would that be written?
Oh, then you'd pass it down, whatever, it would be props dot whatever. This already has props dot item, but if we wanted, we don't have another thing here, but if we wanted to pass something down, we'd give it a prop name. Name is equal to whatever you want it to be equal to.
But on the app.js, you still would only have to say the parent name, the to-dos.
Well, it depends how far you want to go and what you're passing.
Oh, okay.
Once again, if we're at this level, I'm filtering, it's like this, I'm filtering. There's a big thing of water, it goes through this one thing, now there's less water. It goes through this one thing, now it's just a drop of water. There's not a whole lot left to pass after here. It's like, it's at the end, right? It's like this funnel, right? And so data, as it gets passed from here down, is probably getting funneled. Data is kind of getting chipped off until you get to the last thing that this thing needs for its data. It may need 1 or 10 things, whatever it is, but this thing may need a huge chunk of data that it has to pass this way and that way. Like, there's other things. This is just 2 branches of this, but I could have a third here. I could have other components that need data, right? There's a lot going on. You'll see this later. Oh, yay, yeah. Woo! All right. I will stop the recording. Stop recording.